All right, guys, let's do it. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Oh, my God. I haven't seen you in, I don't know how long it's been. Lindsey Stirling, what's up? How are you?
I'm so good. It feels great to be back.
It is so cool. You got this girl. You are and I'll get into this later, but I think it's safe to say you are and it's a crazy word, because whoever says the word trailblazer, but you're a trailblazer. You're doing something. How many people play the violin and cross into pop music? There are some, but not many. So yeah, you're doing something that not many people have or can do.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's definitely different.
Exactly. That's part of the beauty of it. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Let's get this countdown going. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, let me just cut to it once again. You are a groundbreaker. I mean, really, you're doing things that, like I said, not many people do. I would imagine in the early stages, people probably told you, like, there's no way. Where's this violin? I mean, granted, if you go into the classical world and whatnot, I get that.
Right.
But you're breaking ground that doesn't happen that often. What was the pushback? How are you doing it?
I mean, definitely when I first started, I remember being so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, no one else is doing this. And I was like, this has never been, no one ever dances and plays a violin to electronic music. But yet everywhere I went, people saw that as a very bad thing. And they'd say, like, this is not marketable. This is like, it's too different. And they would kind of send me back on my way, and I couldn't find managers. I definitely couldn't find a record label. And so I just started doing it, and I started putting videos online, and it was really funny because the feedback, from the internet, people love things that they've never seen before. What makes something shareable is that it's different. And so in all the comments and all the shares I saw, exploded when I started putting stuff on YouTube. This is like 7 years ago. But all the comments were like, dude, check this out, tagging their friends. This is so different. I've never seen something like this. And I think a lot of times we're told that being different is a bad thing. But in reality, like, when you are yourself and when you do what is truly you and unique, like, the fact that I'm different, I own my own corner of the internet. And
you really do,
it's
right?
Mine, and it's great. And obviously it's not for everybody, but if you're looking for unique violin, dancing, electronic music, you got one option.
Yeah, you came to the right place. And I'm staring at it right now. Oh, my God. Lindsey Stirling is here. Once again, a lot to talk about, you guys. On with this countdown. All right, guys, we're back. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Going to play her track Guardian a little bit later on, talk about the album, all this stuff. I got you all set up here, Lindsey. You did this. I've been showing everybody in the building here this video of you doing your VR concert. This was, the one I'm looking at is a couple of months, a while back.
Oh, right.
You did a concert. To my understanding, you were just in a room with all your little gadgets on you. And then people just log on and watch you with, VR goggles or whatever, and they see your, your character. I just love everything about this. Describe exactly what happened.
It was unlike anything I've ever done or experienced. Well, and also it was the first time it's ever actually been done like this before. I was wearing, that tracksuit, with all the little tracking points on my body. And I was performing live as I could watch this avatar of myself that had been created to be like the character that's on my album cover. And I was performing live streaming across the world. And fans could tune in and they could comment and they'd show up in the sky as little stars with their comments. It was so cool.
It looked like a video game.
Yeah, and they designed this world for me, and it was just so fun to be able to brainstorm with them ahead of time. Like, what could we do that could never be possible in an actual live concert? Like, I want there to be flower petals, and as I spin around through them, the flower petals twirled around me, like stuff like that. Or, as I play this, like lightning's going to strike on the beat. Like, it was just so cool to think limitlessly and otherworldly.
I'm so curious about this. So when you're doing this, you're in a room, but of course they see that all they see is your avatar character.
Yeah.
But as far as your POV, you're looking at a microphone. You have a monitor there, obviously, I'm guessing.
Yes. So they did have a monitor that I could watch, which was also interesting. I've never gotten to watch myself perform. And so
that's pretty crazy to think. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never, you don't get to do that.
Fair
so
point.
I'm like, what my focus was like, oh my gosh, I'm watching and being kind of fascinated that this avatar in real time is doing exactly what I'm doing and looks like my movement. I was like, this is really weird. But I watched a whole show of myself and I was like, wow, I'm quite whimsical.
That's pretty. And
as an avatar,
of course. And when somebody, say for example, from Germany pops up and you see their screen name, like CX22 says, "Hey, Lindsey from," and you comment back and forth. So it's just super interactive. And God, you got to do more of these things.
I definitely think so. It was so fun. It was really well received, and what a cool way, because like live streaming and vlogging and, chatting with your fans on live chat is a big thing. And I think this is the next step of it, because I got to not only do that in moments, but I got to do it as like any character I wanted to be. And I got to do it along with like a performance.
What a rush. Well, Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, I'm not sure if we've connected since Dancing with the Stars, or have we? I don't know, but
I don't think so.
But yeah, well, that was a big moment for you. You came in second place. It was 2017. Yes. You danced with my buddy Mark Ballas. I know him super well.
Really?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
I love Mark.
And another buddy of mine won the show was Jordan Fisher. He's come through here so many. Sweet guy. But
definitely.
All that said, I mean, it must have been just a spectacular experience.
It was. I describe it to people as like one of the hardest things I've ever done, like actually no joke, and also one of the most like joyous, fun things I have ever done. It was like both extremes at the same time, because it was so hard, because I was simultaneously learning a brand new show, like with my band, my dancers, going to rehearsals for that, learning new choreography. And then I would spend 6 hours a day with Mark learning 2 ballroom routines a week. I'm actually not a trained dancer at all. That was the first time I'd ever had dance training. And so it was so hard. And then we left on tour. Mark and I are flying across the country. I'm doing meet and greets and shows every day and promoting a Christmas album. I didn't sleep more than like 3 hours a night for weeks. Like I was so tired. But at the same time, it was like such a dream come true to be able to do something like that and express myself through dance. And like, it was magical.
And I'm guessing you seem like you're in pretty good shape because you dance, you tour, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you jump on a show like that, I mean, you get in shape, like real shape, real quick, right?
Right. I've never been so, also I was trying to keep weight on. I was trying to stay healthy and give my body the nutrition. There were several of us on the show that were just losing weight so fast because, dancing and moving for 6 to 8 hours a day is no joke. So,
I can imagine.
I mean, just like shoveling peanut butter in my mouth, and like I was like, anything. I need
eat some cake, eat it.
Yeah, or chocolate cake.
Oh my God, Lindsey Stirling is here, you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for hanging out. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Of course, you're here because you love me and I'm so much fun. But
of course.
You released an album earlier this year. I want to pump this thing up just in case people don't know about it. The album is called Artemis, which means Greek goddess. I looked that up.
Did your homework.
I did.
Yes.
But yeah, talk about Artemis, the album, and then jump into a little bit about what you're working on.
Yes. So the album was inspired by, Artemis, the goddess of the moon. And it all stemmed from, I just love the symbolism of the moon. I love that the moon brings light to darkness. And I think that's such a powerful metaphor because I personally in my life, and everybody goes through times when you feel maybe a little bit like you're covered in shadow. And, whether it's you're going through depression or, anxiety or loss or grief, or you're just struggling in life or you're hopeless, like there's times in my life where I literally felt like I was covered up by a shadow. And just like the moon sometimes gets covered in shadow, if you didn't know better, you'd look up into the sky and maybe think that the moon didn't exist anymore. And I felt like that in periods of my life where I was like, I think that this is just the new me. And I think that the old like rose-tinted glasses Lindsey maybe is gone. And that life changes you. But then I go through it and I, search for myself and I realize, oh my gosh, no, I'm still here. That part of me that is full of love and joy and hope, she was just covered up for a time because of like loss or because of depression or because of, situational things. And I think we all have to be so kind to ourselves and realize that we will come back to our full light if we keep searching for it. And so that's kind of the story of the Artemis album. And I wrote a comic book along with the album so that the two are little partners. And they share the same story.
You're such a nerd, and I love it. Oh, my God. The comic book thing. You must have a moon tattoo somewhere, right? Do you have a moon tattoo?
I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, I would have a moon.
Don't get me started. I'm a tattoo
I can
junkie.
tell.
I'm like, and you need a moon tattoo. You need a moon tat.
I need a moon tat.
Okay. Love it. More with Lindsey Stirling coming up next. All right, guys, we're back. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, you're a phenomenal performer. I mean, you're
thank you.
Just incredible. But you are human, to my understanding. Have you ever made a noticeable onstage mistake? One where even the audience went, "Oh God, I don't think that was supposed to happen."
I mean, yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, also there's so many factors of live performing. I actually think it's kind of fun when I break a string on stage because everybody suddenly is pulled out of the performance for just a split second to be like, oh, this is live. These are real people that make mistakes. But I mean, I've fallen before. I mean, that's pretty tricky choreography I try to cram into these songs, and I've got dancers up there with me, and I think I've only fallen twice in the hundreds of performances. But I'm spinning around with a violin with
and there's
yeah, super jarring to go from I'm focusing on being in tune to whoa, I'm on my butt, But I've never broken a violin, so.
Man, I can imagine I guess for a violinist, breaking a string is no big deal, but you're in front of all these people just playing this beautiful, and just
Ring. Yeah.
You're like, sorry guys, let me pause because things are bad right now.
Well, and also I get called out a lot for playing to track. They're like, well, it would have been nice if she performed live. And I'm like, well, first of all, thank you. That's the best compliment you could give me, thinking that it's a track, but I'm 100% playing live. And so when something like that happens, the violin will stop and people are like, oh, she for sure is playing live.
So you have to pretty much break a string to prove that you're playing. You should just play the track and not even worry about it, Why? They don't believe you anyway.
You know what I mean?
All right, Lindsey Stirling's hanging out. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, let's do this track, The Upside, with Elle King. What do I need to know?
All right. So this song, I had so much fun writing this song. It was one of the few times when I've literally been in the process of writing the song that immediately I was like, there's something really fun here. There's something really special about this song. And I've wanted to work with Elle for so long. I love her voice. I think she's so unique. And I was so excited when she agreed to be on this song. But this song, it stemmed from a conversation I had with my mom. I lost my dad about 2 years ago. And, my mom lost her husband. And she described to me, she says, I feel like I've been kind of on a downhill slope for a while since your dad passed. And I kind of related. I was like, I hear you. I felt that same, kind of just shadow, for lack of a better term, over my life. And then she said, but I finally feel like I'm on the upside of the down. The curve had flipped and now she was heading up. She saw the hope again. And I was like, yes. And that's the place that this whole album for me was written from. And it's the first time I've written a full album from a place of joy rather than writing about the last one was about loss. And so I called, kind of quoting my mom, yeah, I feel like I'm on the upside of life. I've gone through this really hard trial and I now am seeing life with beauty and hope and joy again. I'm going up. And so that's why this song is so happy and full of hope and light. I love it. And that's why it's called The Upside.
Your mom must love this song, huh?
She does.
All right, let's do it. Lindsey Stirling featuring Elle King. This is The Upside. All right, guys, we're back. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, I've got a two-part question to ask you. Biggest crowd you've ever performed for? Mm-hmm. And the flip of that, have you ever been booed?
Oh, dang. Okay.
It's a rite of passage for some. If you can survive it, you know, all that. But it does suck. I'll give you that.
I mean, that's a loaded question. Sometimes at festivals, you have no idea how many. We've played for some massive crowds at festivals, but you're half of them are just on their way to the other stage.
But they're still there.
But they're still there. I know we've played for 20,000 a couple times at some festivals,
oh, nice. Gotcha.
Which, is so fun. And the other day we played in front of 17,000, and that was probably the biggest of my own people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Come on.
Seriously.
That was not wasted on me. I was like, why are you all here? Thank you so much. Thank you. But okay, I have been booed. I said, how's it going, Houston?
Down!
And we were in Dallas. So embarrassing. Of all the cities to mess up, I full on got booed. I had a saving grace, though. I was obviously very sick. I was coughing through the whole show at the mic. I barely had a voice. And so when they booed me, I said, hey, I'm sick. And then they all cheered.
Oh my God. You can't boo Lindsey Stirling.
Oh, they did. But you know what? You earn it when you mess up. That's the only time I've ever done that, and I will never do it again.
Now, do you just avoid saying hello, Houston anymore, or do you just write it down? Or
it's written down on my set list. I personally write it so that I know that if I mess up, that was my fault.
Oh my God. All right. Lindsey Stirling's hanging out on with the countdown. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling's hanging out. Lindsey, tell me about this story. You went to New Zealand, I think.
Yeah.
To shoot this video for the Lord of the Rings medley you did.
Yeah.
I mean, why do I love this so much? Tell me more about this whole thing. When was this? It's quite a while back, I guess,
So
right?
long ago. Yes. So at the time, I was dating a guy. His name's Devin Graham. He's a YouTuber. And he's actually the one, the person that taught me about YouTube. And like, this was way back in 2010 when YouTube was still emerging and I thought it was a place for cat videos. He contacted,
still,
I mean, those are the best videos, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But the rest of us have snuck in now on the cat videos. We're riding their coattails, if you will. But no, he reached out to me and was like, hey, I think what you do is really interesting. You would do really well on YouTube. So thank you, Devin Graham. I owe so much to him. But we ended up dating. And because he was a cinematographer, he got hired to go all over the world and shoot stuff. And so then I would ride his coattails for sure. I got to go to Kenya to shoot with him, and I would always bring a dress in my suitcase. And while I was helping him film, we'd like pull over on this, like literally that Lord of the Rings video looks like we're in the fields heading to Mordor. It's literally on the sides of the roads, of the highways. Like we would just be driving and I'd be like, that's a pretty view. And we'd stop. I'd throw on my white dress in the backseat of the car. And then I'd get out there and I'd play the song for like 5 minutes. And then we would jump in the car and keep going to film the things he needed to film.
And that's how you did it. I thought it was some major crazy production. It was just jumping on the side of the road.
It was literally jumping on the side of the road and filming wherever we could find. And like one of the shoots he was hired to do, he had helicopter access. And so sure enough, I brought my white dress in that helicopter.
Oh my God.
And I was helping him film. And then I saw a really pretty cliff. I was like, stop, like lower down. Like we're going to film one thing. And the helicopter driver's like, what the heck is this girl changes into her white elf dress and like gets on the side of, so that was epic. It was like the side of a cliff. It was beautiful. But yeah, that video was all for free because I was a camera assistant that just had a white dress.
Oh my, and the helicopter's like, what is this? She's
Yeah.
crazy. Oh my God.
I was very clever, I give that to myself.
Good for you. All right, guys, we are back. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, this is the question I've been dying to ask you.
Okay.
I'm obsessed, as I told you off air, with the paranormal.
Yes.
I even have a podcast called Paranormal-ish. I'm off the deep end. It's clear.
I've heard. You've gone there.
I've gone there. I've heard so many crazy stories. You tell me you have had a paranormal encounter of sorts.
Yes. So I guess paranormal, if it includes like angels, I am such a believer in angels. And I literally believe that we have these like angels that surround us in life and that are helping us.
Agreed.
They're whispering in our ear that, and I really think that a lot of times these like passing thoughts that you think of like, oh, I should do that. Or, did I forget that? Like I always joke that, oh, my angels, they're looking out for me so hard. And I pray to them all the time. And it's been amazing some of the things that have happened. And I think we talked a little bit about Dancing with the Stars. And one of the most spiritual moments of my life happened on that show. To be like very surprised. I did not expect that. But in the last half of the season, I was so tired and so weak. I had busted a rib at that point. I'd gotten injured. I was flying back and forth from tour to the show. And in those last few weeks, I literally just did not have the brain power to comprehend, like, what's my show choreography? What's the foxtrot? I don't know anymore. I'm so tired. And so, but I was given a blessing. That's something that we do in my faith. And in the blessing, I was told that you have angels helping you. They will give you strength beyond your own. And more specifically, your Father will be with you every step of the way to help. And I relied on that promise with everything. Every time I'd go into a rehearsal, I'd pray and say, I have 4 hours right now to rehearse. I am so far from ready. I need it to count as 8. And then I'd go to sleep at 9. I'd say, I have 4 hours to sleep. I need it to count as 10. And I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up the next. I walked through every step of my day like that, just praying for help from my angels and strength beyond my own. And when we made it to the finale, we were minutes away from performing our final routine, and we had worked so hard to get there. And we had been on a red eye the night before, hadn't slept in over 24 hours, and we're about to go out there, and my mind blanked, and I couldn't remember anything. It was like mashed potatoes in my mind. And my partner, Mark, is like kind of freaking out. He's like, are you okay, like, what's happening? What can I do? And then they called our names, like Lindsey and Mark to the stage. And so kind of in a panic, I'm walking, in my little high heels to my starting mark. And I just looked up into the spotlight as like the click is starting for our routine and I'm still blank. And I just said, Dad, help. And then the music started and it was like a dream. It was like I watched myself do that routine. And it just happened and the steps went and I did that routine better than I had ever done it when I was probably more tired than I've ever been in my life and more foggy than I've ever been in my life. But at the same time, I felt so powerful. And Mark and I ended up getting second place on the show. But in that moment, when that routine finished, I won Dancing with the Stars. No one can ever take that away from me. I won because I did something that I couldn't do on my own, and I did the very best, and I conquered something I set out to conquer. And, it was just, I look back on that experience all the time and remember that, like, there is more out there than just the finite and the facts and the physical and the tangible, what you can touch. There's power beyond what we could ever imagine, and if you tap into it, we can all do amazing things.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow.
There's my paranormal.
Oh, my God.
My angel story.
Lindsey, have you ever been mistaken for the wrong celebrity?
Yes.
Or mistaken for yourself? What happened?
Both, multiple times. I think the funniest one was we were in New York. We were doing press. So it was obvious that I was, doing press for something. I'm an artist of some kind because there was like, my manager was around me. We get out of a black car, going and doing interviews. TMZ chases me down and is trying to get me to admit that I'm Haley Williams. Because I used to be a redhead. And I'm like, I'm little. And I kept saying like, no, I'm not Haley Williams. And they like would not believe it. They just kept filming me and be like, Haley, what are you doing in New York? Are you doing a new song? I'm like, I'm not Haley. I love Haley Williams. But it was really funny. And I went to Anime Expo, because I'm working on this anime comic and I just wanted to kind of go and hang out and get some inspiration. I love anime. I got stopped by multiple people asking if I was cosplaying as Lindsey Stirling.
No kidding.
And the best part is I wasn't wearing a costume. I was dressed in normal clothes. And so I was like, the only thing that makes me Lindsey Stirling is my face right now. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. So do you think that was just their way of introducing themselves to you, but they really knew it was you?
I mean, they looked pretty shocked. And also that's such an awkward thing when you're like, oh, I am Lindsey Stirling. I don't know. You're like, do I just go with it and be like, yep, I get told all the time I look like her. Like,
What did you say?
I try different ones at different times. Sometimes I'm just like, yep, I'm a big fan. And they're like, oh, me too. Other times I'll be like, yeah, actually I am Lindsey. And I don't know what the best way to respond to that is, but it's always really sweet when you watch the like expression change, like, wait, really?
They're like,
no, yeah, like, I don't know, it's always funny.
You guys, Lindsey Stirling is the real Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. It's JoJo on the radio. This is the iHeartRadio Countdown. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Tell me that story, Lindsey. Back in the day, I think it was you were probably 5, 6, 7, whatever. And you had to pick between dance and violin because it costs money to do these things. And your parents said, "Hey, let's pick one or the other." Mm-hmm. And I guess you made the right choice. Although you kind of do both. Well, you do both now.
Yeah, now I do both. But
that story seems kind of cool. So after all this said and done, it all started from that moment, really.
I begged for violin lessons when I was like 5 years old. My parents loved classical music, so I was just kind of exposed to it through these old records my dad would play. And then also I loved dance. And so my parents were like, well, you can't do both. Like they couldn't afford one, let alone both. So my mom took me to a violin lesson and, I got to borrow this little violin and play it. And then she took me to a little ballet class. And then it was like this moment of like, okay, pick one. And I picked the violin. I think I picked the violin because I was a, really shy little girl. And I think I was so intimidated by the other girls that all seemed to know what to do in the class. And I was like, whoa, where did I miss was there a pamphlet I was supposed to read? But it's funny because people always, they're like, oh, now you're this dancing violinist, you do both. The best part about it, though, is when I decided I wanted to be a dancing violinist, it stemmed from that childhood love that I had. However, I was not a dancer. I don't know why in the world I thought that was a possibility. Like, I could not dance to save my life. Like looking back at some of the first things that are not out on the internet, like they are so embarrassing and I'm so bad that I'm like, you know what? It's almost charming in a way because when you don't understand that something's impossible, it's amazing what you can do. I didn't realize that to learn to dance, to play the violin, I didn't know how to write music, to like be like, I'm going to write my own electronic songs. I was in Utah. I didn't have money. I was paying my way through college. Like it didn't make sense that I would be able to make it. And yet, because I didn't know it was impossible, somehow, I believed it so strongly that it would happen. And I worked so hard because of that. And so don't put limits on yourself, because the limits we put on ourselves are the most confining. You will become what you see yourself being.
God, you are inspirational and powerful.
I'm on a roll today.
Goodness gracious. What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling is hanging out. Lindsey, after all we've talked about, all this stuff you've done, massive success. You've broken ground, barriers, violinist, doing things no other. Oh my God. Family, friends, what's their reaction to all this stuff? I mean, they must be blown away because they've seen all of it.
They have seen all of it. My friends and my family, they're so supportive. But I think my best friend said it best one time. She came to my show. Like, they still come whenever I'm in Arizona. My high school friends come out to my shows. And one of my best friend from high school goes, after the show, Lindsey, man, when you're up on stage, you're like this magical fairy. And I'm like, that's crazy that's the girl I ate lunch with every day in high school. That's Lindsey. And then she goes, and then you step up to the microphone and I'm very aware. Oh, that's dorky Lindsey from high school. Yeah, she hasn't changed a bit, and I love that. I love that, I think in my shows, I love to take people to otherworldly places, but the same day, I want everyone to realize that I'm just a girl that kind of with a weird mullet haircut right now that enjoys sharing music and is kind of a dork.
What up? It's JoJo on the radio. Lindsey Stirling's hanging out. Lindsey, let's do a quick recap. Artemis, the album, it is out. It's been out, so get it. And, of course, got to check the single, The Upside, featuring Elle King. Angels Exist. We've covered that.
Yes.
You are a magical fairy on stage, yet still a dork at the same time, which is awesome. And sometimes your fans mistake you for you at anime shows.
That's a perfect wrap up. I love it.
I think I did pretty good at that. Oh,
yeah,
my God. Did I forget anything?
Nope. All the important stuff. Check.
Goodness gracious. It is a real pleasure to see you again. Please don't be a stranger.
Yes. Thanks for having me. So fun.
Absolutely. Lindsey Stirling, at the end of every interview, fist bump to make it official. Give me